joining us in our virtual open house. I'm Jeff Hutchison. I'm the Director of Graduate Studies. That means between myself and Christy Hay, who is our graduate admin, we're the kind of point person in terms of moving along through the graduate program. And I'm going to give an overview of the program and some typical kinds of questions that come up in the application process. So I'll start with those first. First thing, and I think most important on our side, is please request a fee waiver. These are not actually fees from us. They're imposed by Pitt. We would waive them if we could. So please fill out the form for requesting a waiver. My understanding is that 95% of those who applied for a fee waiver last year got one. If you don't get a fee waiver, contact myself or Christy and we'll sort it out. The other thing that comes up a lot, and I've been involved in graduate recruiting throughout my time here at Pitt, is that all students in good standing receive financial support. That's different from law school, business school, med school, what have you. And that can come in a couple different forms. So in almost all cases for first year students, they're teaching assistants, right? So you'll be teaching maybe as a lab TA or a recitation or grading. And then, some point, hopefully, right, a research assistant. So you're doing research for a professor funded by, by a grant from myself, Lily, and your professor, getting money from the NSF, NIH, and also fellowships. And I'll talk about fellowships in a moment. And so we do guarantee that all students in good standing receive financial support, and I can attest, we take that quite seriously. That support includes tuition, health insurance, and the graduate stipend. And you can certainly ask the grad students in terms of, how that works in terms of cost of living in Pittsburgh. Certainly it's a relatively low cost of living area. We think that graduate school is about the research. And so most students complete their coursework in the first year. You have up to 2 years to do it, but most students end up getting it done in the first year. As far as the timeline, I'll go into a little bit more detail in a moment. Students choose research groups and advisors in December and January, and so there's kind of a matching process. You've got the fall term to, check out different groups and potentially do rotations. And then there's a matching. You list your top choices, and we match you up with a group sort of in the break between December and January. Today, there's going to be a number of breakout rooms. Those breakout rooms are going to focus on research groups recruiting new students. So that's also a question that comes up a lot is, is Professor X taking new students? So if you're here, the breakout rooms will be focusing on research from groups, particularly taking new students. Okay, another question that comes up a lot is the typical student timeline. And of course, there's lots of variation for this. People take time off and things like this. But, most students is something like this. The first term, you come in the fall, you're taking some courses, some graduate courses, teaching as a TA. And then, as I mentioned, the optional rotations. So at the moment, the rotations are a couple of weeks, and you can choose up to 3 groups. They're optional. So if you're, dead set on joining a particular group and you've talked to that advisor and you're 110% sure you're going to join Yiming's group or something like this, right? By all means, you don't have to do the rotation. And sometimes, students, skip out on a particular part of it or not. But it's there because grad students asked us and said they wanted a rotation system. And so we listened to the feedback and we added it in. And we've tried to continually optimizing it based on feedback from students. As I mentioned a moment ago, students choose their research groups and advisors in that matching process in December, January. You fill out a form that has, okay, I've talked to a number of professors and these are my top 3 choices. In the second term, as I said, most students finish up their courses by the end of their second term. And then, of course, most first-year students are doing teaching, and so they're doing some teaching in that second term as well. And then choosing a project in that research group, starting to get up to speed. We have a preliminary meeting at April, May of the first year. You choose a committee, right? So it's additional faculty to advise you on your project and give you some feedback. And so at the end of that second term, we like to have a preliminary meeting where you give like a short overview of what you think the project might be. And of course, it's not going to be detailed because you probably haven't gotten much research done or any research done, right? You've done some background reading, you thought a little bit about what the project might involve and why it's important. And again, this was based on feedback from grad students. It's a chance to do a high level view, right, of before you get into the day-to-day of doing research, why are you doing this particular project? Why does it matter? And then, what are the things you might do? And it's a chance for the committee to give you some feedback in terms of the expectations for the research and the kinds of questions that may come up in your candidacy exam. So yeah, that's April, May of the first year. And then summer and second year should be research. You're getting into your project, you're doing things, you're making discoveries, you're learning techniques. And then in May to June of that second year, we like students to have their comprehensive exam or admission to candidacy, right? Different programs have slightly different names for it. Here it's the comp exam. It's an oral exam and you write up a document. So that's a chance when you're able to talk to the committee and get feedback. And the point of the comp exam is particularly to make sure that students are on a good trajectory to complete their PhD work in a good amount of time, because that's the point of this, right? The point is to get the PhD and go forth and do great science in your future career. And then we recommend annual meetings with your committee, ultimately leading to your PhD defense. So that's a typical student timeline. We like to see students finishing in 5.5 years. Some students, everything works out great. They have some luck and they get out sooner. Sometimes students, right, it's a little bit longer, but that's the general idea. Applications, another common set of questions. The applications are open now. You can certainly start your application, and I believe as of this morning, there were something like, 30 applications already completed. So if you've completed your application, congratulations to you. You're on top of things already. The review starts December 15th because we know historically, most people, they start their application sort of the end of the term because, you're in the middle of classes, you've got homework, you've got projects, you probably have some research, you've got exams, all of this. And so we'll start reviewing December 15th. The application deadline is January 15th. And so because of that, and we know, right, a lot of the applications come in the second half of December, decisions from the admissions committee generally go out in early January into February. And part of that delay between when the review starts is also that the university closes for the holidays. And so even if we say, oh, these are the top students, we'd like to admit them right off the bat, the dean's office have to approve all of those things, and they usually close around that time anyway. So you expect to see decisions in early January into February. We have 2 on-campus visit weekends, February 23rd to 24th and March 22nd to 23rd. And if you can, we certainly encourage you to come and check out what Pittsburgh is like and the university and our facilities. And then, right, your decision deadline is April 15th of next year to decide, whether you want to join us. And we hope you do. One of the other things that comes up a lot is in terms of fellowships. We do offer a number of fellowships, not just to domestic students, but to all students. Some of those are involved with the application. There's no separate application for those. The admissions committee will recommend students for those fellowships as part of the review process. These include the Beringer and the Warga Predoctoral Fellowships, the Leroy Irvis Fellowship. And then I want to mention there's a number of internal fellowships. And again, these are available to both domestic and international students. The Andrew Mellon Predoctoral Fellowship is actually across the entire School of Arts and Sciences. We have a number of teaching awards, particularly the Herd Saffer Graduate Teaching Award and Fellowship. So we reward excellence in teaching. The BASF Graduate Excellence Award and Graduate Excellence Fellowship. These are ways that we, celebrate students who've done great research and, add some money to what you're doing. And then, of course, there's a number of students who apply for external fellowships, National Science Foundation, NIH, DOE, Ford Foundation, etc. So I don't want to spend too much more time. I do want to mention if you have questions on your application. I know Yiming has recorded a YouTube video on our YouTube page about writing a personal statement, so that sometimes people have questions about that. What goes in, what do we expect? And so there's some tips there. With that, I want to turn things over to the grad students, but again, we'd be happy to take questions from you guys along the way.
Hi everyone, my name is Connor and I'm the president of the graduate chemistry group called Phi Lambda Upsilon. It's basically just a club that allows us to do either like various social or professional driven activities. So right now, like there's a couple of volunteers within the graduate program here. So like I said, I'm Connor. I'm a third year right now, and I'm in Dr. Jennifer Laser's lab.
I'll go next. I'm Alicia. I am a fifth year PhD student, and I am in Sunil Saxena's lab. I'll popcorn it to Henry, so we don't have some weird. Yeah.
Hey guys, my name is Henry, and yeah, sorry, I'm sitting right next to Connor, and I'm also in Dr. Jennifer Laser's group. I'm fourth year as well. Maybe Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna. I am also a fourth year in the Florian Sig group. Ben.
Hello, my name's Ben Jeffress. I'm currently a first year graduate student. I'm still figuring out which lab I would like to be in, but I'm looking for like organic synthesis. So I've been rotating the Koide lab, WIF lab, and currently the Florian Sig lab.
Hello, I'm Bailey Ford. I am a second year student in Dr. Lillian Chong's lab.
If you take back over. So we'll just talk about our experiences about like what it's like to be a PhD student within the department, as well as what it's like to live in Pittsburgh, where you should find living, as well as like what activities you could do. So I think the biggest thing for graduate students, especially first years, is really about rotations, because these rotations is going to help you figure out which groups that you want to join in. And it's going to be really helpful to see if that you click with different aspects of that specific group, whether it be like group dynamics as well as the research. So for example, in my time here, when I first started joining out, I had Dr. Jennifer Laser, the person I'm working with right now, is someone who I didn't have on like my list of people who I was supposed to rotate with. There's this class called 2700, I believe. It's the seminar class, and this is where you get to like learn about all the different professors' research. And basically what I was able to do is I was able to reach out to her, ask if I could rotate for a little bit, and found out I really liked the environment as well as the research. So I would really emphasize rotations, because you really never know where you're going to end up. I don't know, how about anyone else's experience?
Yeah, I would definitely second that. kind of counteract what Jeff said. And like, I feel like there's no reason where you shouldn't do rotations. Even if you know where you want to join, it's still a good opportunity to meet the people in the department, find out about other research going on. And should something happen and you don't mesh with the group that you end up joining and you need to find somewhere else, you won't have to have a setback. And you'll be able to have kind of a backup place, or sometimes getting into groups is really competitive, and you're not going to get your top choice lab. You do want to have a backup and know the people there. So that is super, super important. And, you know, it's a good way to make connections and find out what chemicals different groups have. So you can, if you run out of something, you can text another group and be like, hey, can I borrow this? So I think rotations are super, super important to do. They're not a waste of time in any form. And they can be really fun because you can try some new reactions that you've never done before.
Connor, I was just wondering, are they able to put questions in the Q&A or in the chat? Oh, okay, through the chat. So I guess going on rotations still, yeah, so I came in I did my undergrad with biochemistry research, and I wasn't sure I wanted to continue that in grad. I liked it, but I wasn't sure. And so since I was starting my PhD and I was going to be in this wonderful department with a million different faculty, I figured I would rotate in many different fields. And so I tried some computational because I've never done that. I tried inorganic because I've never done that. And so it was a nice experience to be able to do rotations and check out different fields and see what I wanted to do for the next 5 years. So it's definitely a valuable experience no matter where you go for graduate school. It's a good experience and I recommend it to everybody. Yeah, Henry.
I go next. I think so basically for grad school is like 3 very important parts, right? So the first part is of course the research, the science part. And the second part would definitely be the PI. Does the PI mentoring style really fit you? And I think the third part would be the group, like how the group dynamics really fits you. So if you want to have like all 3 criteria checked when you get into a group, that's perfect. That's wonderful. But if you have 2 of them checked out, like that should probably be a good fit. But if there's only 1 being checked out, probably that's not a good fit for you. Just saying, like, so that's why rotation is very important. You want to basically examine this group whether, you know, all 3 criteria it really checks out, right? You don't want to just blindly join a group with no trial. Like at the same time, it's also like you are being tested whether you're a good fit for the group. So I think it's definitely worth it to do the rotation. I think it's really good.
For the first year, it's going to be like a pretty tough time just because you have so many responsibilities to catch up on, because you have to do your classes, learn what kind of group that you fit in well with, as well as teaching and grading like takes up a lot of time, like more than you would like first see. So I think things start hitting pretty hard around the last week of September, closer to October. So I would say that you should really put yourself out there within that first month before you get like really swamped with classes, because you're going to be swamped with, like I said, exams, homework.
Generally, you'll be teaching general chemistry during your first year. Unless you really prefer to teach organic. I know some other people teach organic chemistry. And then they sometimes need TAs for analytical chemistry as well. But generally, you're teaching the freshmen general chemistry, either laboratory course or recitations, which are like small group classes outside of the large lecture hall. I didn't know what they were when I first came here. So that's what that is.
Thank you.
And the responsibilities for both like vary pretty widely. Like the recitation was just like 5 1-hour sessions, and you have to like proctor some exams. Well, for labs, you have like 3 3-hour sections, and as well as grading. So you gotta like figure out like which time management option like works best for you and how to like prioritize that.
And no matter where you go, grad school is going to hit you like a brick. That's what I tell everyone. And you get used to it. It hits you once you have your teaching, academics, all of that. It's a little different from undergrad. So it's fun. I like it. I love being here, but it's different. So
Yeah, I always tell people that in about May of your first year, after you finished your pre-comp, you'll just get home one day and you'll sit there and you'll be like, okay, what do I do? I don't have to study. I don't have to grade. Like, you can actually kind of find a life again, which is really great. Your first year is the most difficult because you have so much going on. The difficulty of grad school changes really significantly after your first year, where first year is all about time management and getting everything done, where your second year, you're more focused on the research and the challenges that come with that, and kind of adjusting to the fact that 90% of what you do isn't going to work, and developing kind of the perseverance that you need to get through the program. So it's a really big shift, but you have free time again, which is really nice.
I do see a question in the chat about if students who tutored in their university's chemistry courses feel more prepared for TA. Does someone want to answer that and talk about like experience teaching and how it helped you as a TA? I feel like I'm talking too much, so I'm going to pass it to someone else.
Okay, yeah. For tutoring, I did undergrad research lab TAing, so I was basically helping answer students' questions alongside with the professor during like my undergrad time, and that was like pretty helpful since it gave me a little bit more confidence working with people on a one-to-one basis. So typically for at least teaching lab teaching, you're in a class of about 24 students. There's like no professor to be there with you. Like, you're like handling it all by yourself for the most part. So it'll take about like probably 2 to 3 weeks before things like really start to click in. But like I said, you'll just get through it and it all works out.
But there's also, I'm first year just going through all this. There's orientation before you start, and that goes through all the training that you'll need for whether you're a lab TA, recitation TA. Then you meet with the professors you were doing the labs for, recitations for, and then you'll get a better idea of what's expected from what they expect from you for the recitations and such. I currently have 5 recitation sections for 2 different professors. So I have the recitations, the grading for that. I'm also grading exams. The max expected for a grad student to work, like on whether grading or recitations, whatever, is like 20 hours a week, which is like normal, I guess, like student worker hours, which is pretty manageable. Especially like for me, I have my recitations back to back to back. So it works out pretty well for me.
I see another question that is asking, do we teach after our first year? And that is very lab dependent. So I only taught my first year, but I am also only one of 2 people in my group that has only taught my first year because of the timing when we joined the group and our grants. So typically my group, we will teach 1 semester outside of our first year. There are some groups that you teach every semester, and it really varies group by group, and can change year to year. It's also dependent on what the department needs. If we have a smaller incoming class and the department needs more TAs, they'll ask for volunteers. You do get paid a little bit more when you TA, so some people will choose to TA for that benefit. So it really depends kind of where you end up, and that's a really good question to ask when you're doing rotations.
And if you want to teach, you can express that interest and TA every semester if you'd like that experience. Find an advisor that will allow you to do that and will be okay with you doing that. But Yeah, and you can also, there's a unique opportunity here where you have the chance to teach a lecture course as well. If you're interested in teaching as a career, that we have that opportunity for upper level graduate students to teach a lecture course of about 70 to 80 students. It's like an introductory chemistry course. So that's I think that's a nice experience offered to people who are interested. Should we talk about
I think,
Pittsburgh?
honestly
sorry.
speaking, sorry. I think teaching is a very good. It's just like you don't want to do research 24/7, right? You want to have some time off. And also at the same time, teaching give you this opportunity. And basically what you've been teaching for will basically make you think about your research. So it's like I really think teaching is a very good thing to do. Because I'm a physical chemistry division, I think sometimes we teach Gen Chem 1 or Gen Chem 2, right? The recitation. It's actually all about the physical chemistry. Like if you really think about it, it will actually make you think what you're actually doing right now. So I think this is like, it's a very good time to be like off your research at the same time. You're still thinking about the science if you're really interested.
I'll hop back on that too, since I think teaching like keeps you grounded, but keeps you back to the fundamentals. Because when you're like head deep in research, like you really like what's it called? I don't know. I just like want to say like hyper focus, but like I know for my friend Victoria, in her lab, she was teaching like polymers chemistry, and that would help her when she was like preparing for her comp, just to like have like that basic background fundamental knowledge to help her answer like these key questions.
Does anyone have any questions outside of teaching, outside of rotations? We could talk about Pittsburgh a little bit. I'm from Cleveland, so Pittsburgh seems a little bit similar to me in terms of the small city vibe. And there's a lot of things to do here. It's kind of like a sports city. Pittsburgh Steelers, Pirates, the Pittsburgh Penguins. So there's like discounted games for students. There's a pretty good music scene here. There's a few really good venues that I like to go to. And then what I really love about Pittsburgh is the amount of parks that are here and the amount of nature. So you're in the city, so you would think like there's no like green space around here, but there's like very nice large parks to go hiking. And I have a dog and I walk my dog in the park. And so it's a really nice place to live as a young adult. I think it's it really like the population around the areas around the university is very like young adult, young professional. And I think it's a great place to be for grad school. It was one of the reasons I chose this, is because I thought Berg was seemed like a great place to live in my 20s. So
Yeah, like I would say that Pittsburgh is like mixed between suburbia with city, because it's like very spread out. Like there are like a lot of places to hike. I even know that there's a park probably 15-20 minutes from the chemistry building. It's called Shenley. That's a nice area to hike around. There's also a place called Pitt's Conservatory. It's a botanical garden, which is also like 10-15 minutes away. And
it's free.
Yeah, it's free for grad students and undergraduate students as well. So it's a really accommodating area.
Yeah, I live right on the edge of Shenley Park, which is really nice. Like I can walk to the end of my street and I'm in the park. So there's a bunch of like running trails and stuff through there that I love. So I'm from like middle of nowhere, Rhode Island. So I was really hesitant moving to a city, but Pitt had everything I wanted. And I moved here in the middle of the pandemic, so I had never been here before. So I was really worried about like living in a city and it being like New York City vibes or Boston, and it just absolutely isn't. It's very suburban. There are kind of where campus is a lot more urban, but kind of outside of that, there's so many parks, there's a lot of things to do. So it doesn't feel like a big city at all. Like your streets are pretty quiet. Like there's not anything crazy going on at all hours of the night, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, I went to undergrad in Philadelphia or Philly, and it was always busy. Here, I can have my window open and not be woken up at 2 a.m. by some random dirt bikers, which is very nice. And I feel like it's coming from like the big city for undergrad, it's a lot cleaner. The bus systems, well, cleanest ones I've been on. I'm used to the dirty old Philly trolleys and whatever. So I felt like that was a good adjustment. You don't, well, there's the bus systems, which are really, I feel pretty reliable. They get a little busy around rush hour times. But yeah, I'm on like one of the busier roads around here. Take the bus into campus and right off campus. My apartment's right by a park as well, Mellon Park. So I always enjoy like walking around there, doing work or reading in there.
Speaking of buses, they are free also for students, and you could pretty much take them anywhere across the city. I think you probably covered next about like where places to live for new graduate students and what it's like living with the graduate student stipend. So I think a majority of grad students live a bus away from campus. I know a lot of people like live in the shady side, which is like east of the chemistry building. It's like a 10-15 minute bus drive, I would say. Some of us live pretty close to Oakland, like both me and Henry live within like a 10-minute walk. But I think like more affordable housing is probably like around Shady Side, a place called Squirrel Hill as well. Seems like that.
Yeah, I live in Squirrel Hill, and I would say my rent is about $300 a month cheaper than everyone else's that lives in Shadyside. My rent is really low and it hasn't been raised in 3 years. So Squirrel Hill is a really nice place to live. It's very, very residential. There is like one road with businesses on it and like everything else is residential. But I do really like it there. It's pretty quiet. It's right on the edge of Shenley Park. So I definitely recommend Squirrel Hill. It is a little bit farther out than Shadyside, but the buses are more consistent, I've found in Squirrel Hill. So
I thought it might be good to talk about coursework. Someone asked a question
Yeah.
about that. So we to earn your PhD, you need to take a total of 4 classes. And that was kind of surprising to me. I'm like, only 4 classes for school? What? But it makes sense, right? So you're taking classes that are related to your research, they're in your division. And so you have 2 years to get those 4 classes done. Generally, people take 2 classes in the first semester and then 2 classes in the spring semester to be able to get those done in your first year. But you are able to spread them out over 2 years. And those classes are in your division. So for example, if you're going to be a physical chemistry, if you're getting your PhD in physical chemistry, you would take quantum mechanics and kinetics in the fall, and then statistical mechanics and thermodynamics in the spring. And then from there, you can take 2 other courses in any other division, or sometimes even in different departments, if they're approved by the chemistry department. But these are all graduate courses, and so it's mostly you and your cohort that you're coming in. Sometimes people from other cohorts will come in and take those classes with you, but that's kind of how it goes. So if anyone has any questions about that, feel free to ask. I don't know what else to really add about that, but the main thing is you take 4 courses and you're done.
yeah, just to add on to that, if you are in the organic division, you have to take the spectroscopy course. So that goes over advanced NMR, mass spec, IR, all of that. So if you want your degree to say organic chemistry, you have to take that course. And for our like straight synthetic labs, it's an expectation that you take it.
It should also be noted that you are allowed to take one course from one of the surrounding universities, such as if there were a CMU course that you feel would be beneficial to you or your research, you can apply to take that course in substitution of one of the courses offered in this program, which is a very nice thing to do. If you're interested in like computational work, CMU has a bunch of courses for like machine learning and whatnot. And it's just something to keep your eye on.
After like the main classes are done, you're also able to audit some courses that the university provides as well. It could give you like a wider range of skill sets. Like there's this visualization course, like it helps you learn how to format figures really well, or like make cover art for a specific work. That's just like an example of a class. And you could also take fun classes as well as to audit. My friend is trying to like audit for this board game making class. So like there's other opportunities other than just like chemistry to focus things else on.
Yeah, and we also sometimes the department will offer mini classes. So I'm taking organometallics with Yiming right now. So that is just a class to kind of supplement things that we don't have time to cover as in depth, even though we use this chemistry all the time. So it's like a 5-week course where we're covering just the basics of organometallics, which is super helpful.